Come on, you boys and great. Come on, you boys. Come on, you boys and great. Come on, you boys and great. Come on, you boys. Come on, you boys and great. Come on, you boys and great.
Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the live watch-along FA Cup action. Aston Villa take on Liverpool, and Aston Villa's kids. I'm joined by Gary Spain. Gary, how are you?
Good, Paul. Yeah, keeping well.
Good man, good man. How do you expect to see this one go? We've got Queevy and Kelleher in goals for Liverpool. No Conor Hourihane. The whole Aston Villa team basically had to evacuate the Aston Villa training centre and go home and isolate. And they had some under 23 players, who were then training with the first team. So they were not, unfortunately for them, they're not actually able to play in this game. So they have like the under 18s out against Liverpool's, I would say mostly full strength. I mean, they're at 80%, I would say there, maybe except for the defence and Minamino.
Yeah, I think it's 6 changes Jurgen Klopp has made, but it's a very strong Liverpool side. It's probably the Liverpool side that would have played even if the Aston Villa first team were available. And it's great for Queevy and Kelleher to play. We were talking only a week ago and saying it's great that he's there at Liverpool. He's with Alisson, he's with Klopp, he's getting the best of coaching, but he does need some game time. And it's great that he's starting in the FA Cup. And I would expect Liverpool to win this game. I think it would be a major, major shock if Villa were to do anything now. And but it's great for Queevy and Kelleher to get some game time. Hopefully a clean sheet for him as well. And but we'll see how it pans out. But this Villa side is obviously very raw. And I would expect it's more a case of fulfilling the fixture more than have any serious chance of an upset. But I mean, they beat Liverpool 7-2 in the Premier League earlier in the season, and when Liverpool had to field a weakened side last year, I think they hammered them. They put 5 past them in the League Cup. So you never know, maybe.
And Kelleher was actually in goal for that 5-0 defeat as well. Just a couple of comments there. People are coming in with the comments already. So big man Shane Duffy says Adam Ida has COVID. I've seen that earlier online on Twitter. I know you had said off air, Gary, you didn't know if he was back fit or anything like that. I'd say he might have been back in and training, maybe training by himself, or maybe in and out the gym, and he's probably picked it up there. But I can't confirm or deny those claims. But I haven't heard of him being back in training or back in any squads or anything like that. So I do hope he does get better, and I hope that we'll see him soon on a pitch playing soon.
Absolutely. Obviously it's bad news that he got COVID. I'm disappointed at that, but I was a bit surprised when I heard earlier that it meant he was out of the FA Cup this weekend, because I hadn't been expecting Adam back till at least next month. And I was hoping he'd get a few games in before the games in March. So obviously it's not good news that he has COVID, but if he was close enough that he's getting back to first team action in the next couple of weeks, that would be good news. And hopefully he'll have a mild dose of it and be back soon.
Definitely. So we are live on YouTube. If you're watching, make sure you give the video a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're a returning watcher as well and you haven't subscribed. Cormac O'Brien, I think he had jumped the gun a little bit before we came live, and he said live in 5. Kelleher expected to play. Yes, he is. He is in goal. He goes, I'll watch along too. Mwahaha. Good man, Cormac. I hope you're keeping well. Sean gives a wave. Gary, you want to give him a wave back there? Give him a nice big
Hi,
wave.
Sean. How you doing?
There you go. How are you, Sean? All right, bud.
Yeah.
David Salter, as always, joins us in the comments. How are you, Dave? How's things? Hope you're keeping well. Get some comments in there, Dave. He always comes in with the good comments, I feel. Sean says score prediction. There's one for you, Gary. I'll let you go first.
I'll go with 4-0 Liverpool. I think it'll be very comfortable. And a clean sheet for Queevy.
All right. I would probably go. I'm going to go 5-0. I think Salah and Mane are going to be rampant as the game goes on, and they'll be looking to add to their goal tally, as well as that, Liverpool have been in a bit of a dodgy patch recently. So I think Klopp's idea here is to get the likes of Mane and Salah firing on all cylinders and to get back to it then next week. That's what I imagine the reason being, playing those in this game. So I'm going to say 5-0, although, yeah, and Kelleher keeping a clean sheet, but that's just my opinion. Sean says he's trying to watch the game. Daniel Deneen says, before COVID, it was reported Almeida was looking likely to play mid-January. So, as I said, he probably was training on his own or with a personal trainer, and then looking to get back in. This will be a bit of a setback for him, of course. There's a goal.
The goal, yeah, it's Mane, I think it is it? Yeah.
Yeah, what did I tell you? I mean,
so
3 minutes in, and it's a goal. He looks like he hurt himself.
Yeah, he may have injured himself in the process.
Lads,
it's very hard for them. I mean, it's going to be a real experience playing against that Liverpool team, but it is literally men against boys, so it's going to be very difficult. Cross in from the right, just pretty straightforward header from Mane. Not sure how he hurt himself there. Let me watch it again.
Looks like he's not moving very freely there, is he? He looks like he hurt.
Yeah, but
maybe it was the landing. Oh, I was there just as he headed it.
Yeah, just as he headed it, he was kind of caught as he landed, yeah.
Is that an own goal?
No, I think it was a Mane header. It
was just the angle.
Yeah.
The way the lad fell, it looked like he headed it back into his own goal. Yeah, someone says there it's going to be a long night for Aston Villa. Yeah, but as we said there, just on Conor Howard, because obviously he's not been playing recently and he's not in the squad at all, obviously with the first team having to basically evacuate the training ground and isolate. So what do you think is next for him? Because he's not playing in the Premier League. He probably would have played tonight had things gone the way we want them to, for him naturally. But he's just not really got a look in this season. Ross Barkley's came in and seems to kind of just pushed him out. And there's been other players that have been playing ahead of him as well in midfield. So what way do you think things will work out for him? Should he try force a move in this transfer window?
I don't think he did get some game time at the start of the season, but as you said, Ross Barkley is in on loan and seems to have done better, and Villa have done really well. Unfortunately for Conor, they've done really well in his absence, so it'll be very difficult for him to break into the team. I don't think, he's still in the squad, he's still in the bench, so I don't see him looking to move at this stage. I think he'll probably see how the second half of the season pans out. And I don't know how long his contract is, etc. But if he's not in Dean Smith's plans, maybe next summer, he may look at getting a move elsewhere and getting some game time. But it will be more difficult for him to start. I'm sure he'll be in the squad for Belgrade, but it will be more difficult for him to start in Belgrade if he's not getting some game time at least with Villa in the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, that could be the case. The thing is, if Villa do well this season, they maybe get Europe. I still think Grealish will leave at the end of the season, and then I still think if they're going to go for Europe, I think they're going to try bring in better players, and with money for Grealish, they're going to have, I'd say, about 90 million. He's probably going to go for, if he is to go. And then I would probably see the door opening for Howard to leave, because he's not getting any younger, let's be honest. And he's not getting into this Villa team, who last year just barely scraped staying up and probably should have been relegated had that goal gone in against Sheffield United.
Yes, they were lucky. The goal did go in, except the goal decision system actually failed. It's probably the only time it's actually failed. Whatever it is. So I don't know about Jack Grealish going. He's signed a long-term contract there and he's very happy there and they really love him. So it really would have to be one of the top six clubs spending massive money on him. Now, I know he was linked with Tottenham before, and I thought Man United are being mentioned now as well. But he won't be that easy to get out of Aston Villa, and they are very keen for him to stay and to build a squad and a team around him. And they are a massive club. I mean, they're a bit of a sleeping giant, but I'm certainly old enough to remember them winning the European Cup and the English League, and even long before my time, they were. I mean, they were at one point. I think they were the record holders of the FA Cup. I think they'd won 7 at the time. I don't think they've actually won it since. Now that I'm thinking out loud on that, but they did have the record for the most wins of the FA Cup at one time, and not that long ago. And so they are a massive, maybe a sleeping giant is maybe a better word, a better way of putting it. They're from the second city in England. So if they were to keep Jack Grealish, and that's probably the intention, they've given him a 5-year contract. It's and they were to get Europe as well. Um, why not build a team around him? Because the money is so good these days in the Premier League. You know, the money from TV, etc. Particularly if they're getting crowds back. I mean, they've got a fantastic stadium there, and they have the potential to kick on and challenge.
I think Villa were the longest serving club in the top flight after Everton till they got relegated there a few years back. They are a massive club. They've got a huge Irish history there as well, so you can see where a lot of Irish fans follow them. Players like Paul McGrath went there, Steve Staunton and so on. Big favourites with Irish fans, and obviously 2 players that would probably go down, or you could probably put in the all-time 11, depending on how you kind of saw it. And there's other players there, I'm sure I'm forgetting.
Ray Houghton was there as well, actually. Yeah, so and a big favourite of the team that won the league, sadly died very young, is Eamon Deasy, who Eamon Deasy Park in Galway is called after. So he won a league medal with them in 1981. And he got a few caps for Ireland as well, and came back, played with my team, Limerick, originally actually before Galway joined the League of Ireland, and went to Galway. He's native Galway in 77, and then went to Villa from there. But yeah, he was a big favourite there, and very sad he died in his 50s.
Yeah, I actually always wondered who Eamon Deasy was. Thanks for that little history lesson there. That was nice.
Okay.
Just Genie Wijnaldum just hit one over the bar there. I thought he should have scored there, but there's a couple of fans. There's actually a lot of comments coming in, so keep them coming throughout the night, and we'll keep on trying to bring them in. Just looking here, James Stephen Dunn is watching Bayern versus Mönchengladbach now. I think Bayern got a penalty. 1-0 to Bayern. Lewandowski scored, he says. Then Christopher Sully says, is Obafemi to Swansea off? I believe so. I believe he picked up a muscle injury that's going to keep him out for the time being. I don't know how long he's actually out for, but apparently the loan move was scuppered because of that muscle injury, so he'll probably have to stay at Southampton and recuperate there, and then hopefully get himself back in the pecking order, because he's fell down massively since I suppose this time last year when he was widely hotting up. You know, he was scoring goals and doing well for Southampton, coming off the bench and stuff like that. He's had a little bit of a fall from grace at the moment. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, and I wasn't aware of the muscle injury, so that's obviously bad news. Because there had been issues at Southampton. He wasn't getting any game time, so that move to Swansea on loan sounded ideal. Swansea are doing so well in the Championship. They're pushing for automatic promotion, not to mind a playoff spot. And it would have been a great chance for him to play in a side that's winning and being successful. So the injury obviously came at the wrong time. And obviously I don't know how severe it is. I'm only hearing about it now, so hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yeah, all going well, and hopefully, as I said, he gets himself back in the pecking order. And then, but the problem we're seeing a lot of our young players is they're all getting bad injuries and long injuries. Like Aaron Connolly keeps getting injured, keeps coming back into the team, and then getting injured straight away after he probably gets a goal, and then he pulls a hamstring or something like that. He pulled a hamstring away with the Ireland team when we were due to play England, and that pulled a hamstring in training. So he's one we really need to manage his hamstrings, basically. I know he's very fast, he's very quick, but he keeps picking up injuries, and I think I definitely see him as one of our big hopes for the future. Obafemi as well, he tends to get injured as well, never really starts a lot of games as well. I always see him coming off the bench in games, and that's when he does well. And when he starts, for me, he doesn't do a whole lot from the starting whistle. I think, anyway.
Yeah, I think there's. I can't remember the stats now, but I did see something saying that there are a lot of muscle hamstring injuries across the board in England, in English football, probably football in general, because there are so many games and being condensed into such a tight time frame. I mean, it is really tough on the players. They're playing twice a week because there's a lot of games being fitted in, not to mind all the internationals as well. And there was such a small break between the end of last season, which only finished, I think, at the end of August, and then players were back by the middle of September. So I think a lot of certainly the Premier League, the clubs are needing these big squads, not to mind from COVID issues as well, to add that into the mix. So I don't know. Maybe it sounds like we're having more injuries, but it's probably just across the board. But yeah, what can you say? Just hopefully that these things can be managed. And the good thing is that these clubs have big squads, and it's the balance between players getting enough game time to be sharp and match fit, and too much game time when they can pick up these injuries, etc.
Yeah, this is a few more comments just coming in there. I just want to talk a little bit about Manscaped, and we'll come back to the comments. So obviously, this video is sponsored by Manscaped. So head over to manscaped.com, use the code IFFTV, check out their products. They just launched the Lawnmower 3.0. Basically, you want to trim your manhood down below. It has LED lights on it. It's waterproof. You can use it in the shower. And they have other products there, not just the Lawnmower 3.0. There's many other products which you can check out over there. Use the code IFFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. And support them because they support us. Right, just back to the comments. David Salter has a comment there. He says, lads, could we nearly pencil in Jay Malumbi to start in March with regular football for Preston? Also, would this raise Alan Brown's stock given he could develop an understanding with Jay? I actually did a video on that the other day, David. But I think if Malumbi is starting for Preston week in, week out, he is, for me, an automatic starter. Because he's played games already, he's played Nations League games and came in and done well, and he looked like, similar to Darragh O'Shea in a way, he came in and it looked settled. He didn't look like he needed time to kind of come into the game. If he's playing football regularly, he is a shoe-in to come in there. Now, Alan Brown, on the other hand, and I know myself and yourself, Gary, we were talking about Alan Brown in our WhatsApp group the other day, and I was just kind of messing, saying he's not that good. But I think if he's playing with Malumbi, I think he could definitely get an understanding, and they could play well together for Ireland. I think that's what's been lacking, is our midfield always look lost. They don't look like they have an understanding, and it looks like a lot of the time they don't look like they've ever played with each other before. I think if he could replicate some understanding from club level and bring that then to international level, that'd be fantastic. But I was just saying in the WhatsApp group that the last day that for me, Alan Brown doesn't do enough in an Ireland jersey, or hasn't of yet. Hopefully that changes. But then again, if you look at so many of them, how many of them have, especially the midfielders, they haven't offered us much in recent times. You think of Howard and Hendrick, James McCarthy, when he's been in lately, hasn't been great. So there is a lot of players there in midfield that haven't done it. But when Malumbi came in, he looked exciting. He got on the ball. He created angles and positions to get back on the ball, or if he gave a ball, he made himself available, which a lot of times a lot of our players, they'll get the ball, they give it to a teammate, and then they'll just admire the pass. Whereas I think Malumbi will actually get the ball and he'll get in position, he'll make an angle, make it easier for one of our players to give the ball back to him, and as well as that, he'll carry the ball numerous times, especially against Wales. He got the ball and he drove us forward, but the problem is we didn't have enough players around him to get forward as well. I felt as though in the game against Wales, I felt Robbie Brady actually held Malumbi back a little bit because he was demanding the ball so much. Malumbi could have drove at defences. Now, I know his shooting's not amazing, but I just think in that Wales game, if Robbie Brady maybe hadn't been playing, I think Malumbi would have had a far better game because he was giving them the ball a lot of the time, and then when Malumbi was running beyond them, he was cutting back inside trying to whip it into the box instead of maybe playing Malumbi in. But I've gone a bit off topic there, Gary. I'll let you talk about this comment here.
Yeah, so at the moment, I would say yes, David. I'd agree with that. I mean, he hasn't had the game time for Brighton, but he's probably, if you look back on the 8 games, well, let's say the 7, because Jay didn't play in Bulgaria, and we changed the midfield completely from Bulgaria to Finland at home. If you look back on the 7 or 8 games under Stephen Kenny, and if you ask me to name the standout and the best midfielder, I would say Jason Malumbi. To me, he's the one that stood out. And I think we've been talking quite a bit. Yeah, he needs to get game time. He needs to be playing regularly in the Premier League. Now, he's got a loan move to the Championship. Hopefully, he's gone there to play. I think he will play. He has to be, looking at his Irish form, he has to be able to get into that Preston midfield. And the understanding with Alan Brown won't do any harm. I think Alan Brown's been fine for us, and he's a bit of a goal threat as well. He's scoring some goals for Preston, and who knows? He's already got off the mark for us in a friendly, so he might well be. But probably a long shot. Alan Brown would be a long shot to start, I think, in March. But I would expect Jason Malumbi to start. Another person I was delighted with this evening is James McCarthy is actually starting for Crystal Palace against Wolves. So that's good news. Obviously,
he's linked with
can't watch that game. Well, I just like to see him get some game time and hopefully be fit for March, because particularly going to a place like Serbia away in Belgrade, it's a really, really tough place to go. Even if there are no fans there, it's a tough place to go. They're a tough team. They're a difficult side to play, and it would be good to have the experienced head of James McCarthy in the midfield. But I think the youth of Jason Malumbi, for me, looking at it now, all things being equal, he does look a likely starter for me. The Robbie Brady point, I didn't actually notice that, Paul. I didn't pick up on it. But what I suppose what you could say is if they do play together a bit more often, they develop more of an understanding. And maybe Jason, as a younger player, as he gains more experience, might just gain more confidence to say no and not give the ball if it's not the right decision, and just to have the confidence in himself and his own ability just to take it on himself. Because for me, looking at him in an Irish shirt this autumn, he looks a really, really good player. And I've been scratching my head saying, how come he's not getting a chance with Brighton? How come he's not getting some game time? Appreciate they've got some very good players, but they're not exactly having a stellar season. Okay, they're outside the bottom 3, so they're not doing too badly, but they're certainly in the bottom 6, and they won't be far away from the relegation battle. So, but anyway, he's gone to Preston now, and I think he will have to get game time and start in the Championship.
I agree with you on that point about them not really having like the most amazing midfield, and the fact that he can't get in there. It's frustrating because we're looking at him as you said, like the performances from him when he has played. I think the only game he wasn't amazing was maybe the Wales away game, but I was talking about the Wales home game. He got man of the match in that game, and I thought he was really, really good. I thought he bossed the midfield. I thought he was just bossing the game in terms of that area. I thought he won everything. I thought he won all his battles, and then, as I said, he was trying to make things happen and popping balls off, getting in positions and driving us forward. As I said in the video I did the other day about him, he carries the ball up the pitch for us, but not a lot of players do. So when we're maybe under pressure or something, we need players to carry the ball up the pitch. Similar to what Roy Keane did against the Dutch, where he just, remember, he carried the ball up the pitch and just kind of basically said to them, you're not having this ball, it's mine, pretty much. Kind of like that, but I look, if Jason Malumbi is starting come March, I'll be a happy man, as long as he's playing, week in, week out. He's playing week in, week out. You're going to get the best Jason Malumbi, and I think that's pivotal to Ireland. I think he could be a future captain. He was obviously Stephen Kenny's captain at the under-21 level. There's so many future captains in that, I suppose, list of players that are coming through at the moment. Sean says, I don't know why he's not getting a look in, though, because he played well last season. He's obviously talking about Howrahan. Oh, nearly a goal there.
I think he's talking about Jason Malumbi. Is it playing so well with Millwall last season? Because he did really, really well on loan. Maybe.
No, it was
Oh,
when we were
Howrahan, is
talking
it?
about Howrahan.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
Gavin says, Howrahan does absolutely nothing for me, which I think we kind of... He has his good moments, but I suppose in some ways you're kind of looking at him maybe to do more in that position. Like I said about Malumbi, at least when he gives the ball, he makes himself available to receive it again in space. And maybe that's just a coaching thing. I don't know, but I would definitely have Malumbi in ahead of him right now. And obviously Howrahan's not playing. Malumbi, I appreciate, hasn't been playing either, but I don't think he can play in the FA Cup either. I think he might be cup tied. I think he played for Brighton. So the cup.
No.
I think to play for it.
I think he's allowed as well. I think I read that he was allowed to play for Preston in the FA Cup. I think, could be wrong.
Sorry, I'm thinking of the Carabao Cup. He
Okay.
played for Brighton. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So he should be able to play for Preston then. I'm not sure who they're playing tomorrow, but hopefully he makes his debut, and him and Alan Brown link up well. And if that is the case, then who knows? You could be looking at a midfield with McCarthy, Alan Brown, and Malumbi come the games, or Jason Knight. Who knows? But the thing about it is, Alan Brown, I felt, was maybe a little bit unlucky after the Slovakia game. Didn't he start the next game, or he was due to start, and then he picked up COVID, or he was a close contact to COVID, and in and around that time anyway, he had to kind of basically sit it out, and he was kind of starting to get that role under Stephen Kenny, but it just wasn't to be after that because of COVID. That's just ruining everybody's life at the moment. Myself, I'm stuck in because of it. You can't go out. I'm sure people in the comments or watching are having issues as well. So we hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe and trying to just keep the head above water at the moment. It is tough times. Not a whole lot to do. Thankfully, we have football, and I appreciate pretty much half the Villa squad and management can't even turn up to the game today because of it. So it is ruining so many lives at the moment. But just to be thankful that we have our health, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, look, it is. It's not good. We were talking off air that that we can't really go anywhere. I mean, I'm not going anywhere apart from out for walks and going to the shops. But I am really thankful that I have my health, and thankfully I've managed to avoid this virus so far. And I am glad. I mean, I'm following some of the debate. I know Steve Bruce is saying they shouldn't be playing football. I'm actually really glad there is live football, there is live sport, because it does. The first lockdown was really bad. It was really hard on people, and I think the live sport does provide a purpose and gives an interest to people who are stuck at home all the time, and it does make it easier for people to stay at home. And I think the various governments have actually supported elite sport, and they've actually gone ahead and allowed it to happen, and I hope it continues. And well, we'll see what happens. I know there's been talk of the Premier League stopping, but hopefully not. Hopefully it'll continue.
Yeah. Just David Moore says, is Howrahan good enough for the Irish team, or should we be playing should we be playing the likes of Jason Malumbi? We kind of answered that in the last I suppose little rant we had there. Sean says, who's the lad beside Howrahan in the thumbnail playing for Aston Villa? It's Tyreek Wright. We thought he was going to be playing today, but unfortunately he's not involved for some strange reason. Villa on the attack here now, and they get tackled there. He went to the floor, ball into the back post and cleared. So it's going for a corner. I think, was that Williams who headed it out? Jones?
I don't know. I don't know those Liverpool defenders. I know there's got the young Welsh guy, and but I wouldn't know which is which.
It's Nico Williams. I think that was Curtis Jones, the fella scored that unbelievable goal against Everton last year. I think he just headed out for a corner. Yeah. There's one for you. Do you think Will Smallbone will declare for us? Jack Gannon asks.
Well, he's already playing for us, isn't he? I don't know if there's any. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any doubt or any talk of him playing for anyone else. So He hasn't been called up to any senior squads, but I'm not as concerned or anything that he would refuse a call up. So, I mean, unfortunately, he's not getting much game time with Southampton at the moment either. And but yeah, I would expect him to play for us if and when he's called up for the senior team. I'm not aware of any. I know he's eligible for England, but I'm not aware of any interest from England or any talk from his point of view that he'd be going elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm not actually that worried because he's not done a whole lot. I know he's been in and out the Southampton team, but until he starts kind of making his mark or whatever, I wouldn't even be calling for him to be put into the senior national team right now anyway. So, unfortunately, we're going to have this constant thing going forward, probably with Irish and English players or any different nationality. Are they going to play for us? Are they going to play for England? It's because of Grealish and the other fella. So that's just unfortunately going to be a constant question all the time. But you just hope that the ones that we want actually want to play for the country and actually want to play for Ireland. So it's kind of up to them really at the end of the day. David Moore says they can't delay games or stop the season because of the Euros being in June. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that one actually, to be fair.
It is a very tight schedule, and that's why they're playing so many games as it was. I mean, I saw even talk last week. Obviously, it hasn't happened. They were even considering. Well, some people were arguing they should just cancel the FA Cup, which would have been a bit drastic. But obviously, they've gone against that idea. It will be interesting to see what happens to the clubs that cannot field a team. I know Shrewsbury cannot field a team against actually Southampton, where we could have seen Will Smallbone playing. But so I wonder, will they be forced to scratch and just be kicked out of the competition, which would be a shame. But well, we'll see what happens. But I hope they continue the season. I think there has to be a doubt over it. But then we were saying last year that the season may not finish. And I following some arguments online talking about the Euros. I mean, I know we're not in it, so it doesn't have the same level of interest and everything. But there's quite a bit of talk. Will the Euros be played behind closed doors? Will they be moved back in? Certainly, I wouldn't like to see Dublin lose the games, but it probably won't be the same benefit for Dublin if there aren't fans at the games, and it's certainly not looking good at the moment. Anyway, if you're looking 8,000 cases here today, over 8,000, it's very, very hard to see fans anytime in the next few months at games, and particularly at the Euros in Dublin, even in June, it'll probably come too soon.
Yeah, and just kind of it says there, Jamie Stephen Dunn says. True, it's already been delayed 1 year. What will happen if the Euros is postponed again with the World Cup in 2022? I don't think it will be postponed, to be honest with you.
No, I think I think the Euros will definitely go ahead in June. It may be behind closed doors, and it may be moved to one. If it is behind closed doors, I think it will be moved to one country. So the options are probably move it to England and play it all behind closed doors, or possibly, I know Russia's been mentioned, and so possibly it could be played in Russia with fans, but I don't see the Euros being cancelled again. I don't think they could play it in 2022. So for me, the Euros goes ahead in June, but possibly not as scheduled in 12 countries.
David Moore says it can't be because the women's Euros moved to 2022 from 2021 as not to be overshadowed by the men's Euros.
Yeah, there was less pressure on the women's Euros as well, because the Women's World Cup isn't until 2023 in Australia, New Zealand. And so they had more flexibility with the women's. So that can go ahead in the summer of 2022 in England. But with the World Cup in Qatar, you could not have two major tournaments in 2022. Not to mind, there's actually a lot of Nations League qualifiers and possibly still World Cup playoffs in June 2022, the current plan is for the World Cup qualifiers to all take place in 2021 with the playoffs in March 2022. But if anything was to happen, if we were to lose one of those windows through COVID or something like that, I think the backup is to go to June 2022 for the playoffs. So I don't think they'd risk postponing the Euros for another year. And even all the money UEFA do make, and they do make a lot of money from ticket sales, it is still only a small percentage relative to the TV money and obviously all the marketing rights, etc. So I think we're going to have Euros in June.
Do you need to sneeze there?
Yeah. So.
I can see it in your face. Right, what are the other comments coming in? So Sean says, doesn't Shawnee Maguire play for Preston as well? Yeah, that's another person you could link up with too. Adam O'Reilly is there as well. Good young midfielder who has been on the bench a couple of times for them as well from Cork. So he'll be plenty of countrymen down there. He can link up with. Obviously Jay is from Waterford, Alan Brown is from Cork, and so is Adam O'Reilly. And Sean Maguire is from Kilkenny, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Kilkenny. He made his breakthrough with Waterford, but I think he's from the other side of the bridge, as they say down there. But yeah, I actually remember him. Yeah, I remember him in the 2012 First Division season. That's when he made his breakthrough with Waterford, and he scored quite a few goals, including quite a few against Limerick, and he made quite an impression. Got a transfer to West Ham off the back of that, and obviously has moved around a little bit since coming back to the league, playing with Dundalk and with Cork City, and now back at Preston.
Yeah, good mate with Jack Byrne. He is good mates with him.
So
they all played youth team together, I think, with Ireland. All right, Kieran Foster says, any word on Troy being recalled by Spurs? In brackets, to be sent elsewhere. No, nothing really. I think he'll stay with Millwall now. I don't really see the point in him coming back. I know maybe goal scoring wise he hasn't enjoyed it, but he doesn't look like off the pitch he's not enjoying it. I mean, injuries have hampered why he hasn't been playing, and only until recently. I think Rowett's been basically trying to bring him back slowly, so therefore he doesn't get an injury. Liverpool are the attacker. It's not a good save by the keeper. That's why I think that. I think Troy, maybe the second half of the season can come good because they've been patient in terms of bringing him back from injury. And, you know, wouldn't it be great if he came back and he was scoring goals before March? And who knows then, we have another striker in good form. Come March, could be good as well. Another player I mentioned our young strikers, a lot of them get injured. A lot of them are injured at the moment. You look at them, Ida, Connolly, Obafemi, Parrott, all injured.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem position. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. We've only scored one goal this year, and that was by a centre half. So it's a concern trying to find the right mix. Callum Robinson been out quite a bit as well, actually, who's someone who could well start in March if fit and getting some game time. But hopefully. What can I say? Hopefully we'll get them back fit. There's still quite a bit of time. There's well over 2 months, nearly 2.5 months to go to the Serbia game. So plenty of games in the meantime. I was saying there are so many games for all these clubs playing at the weekend, playing midweek, playing at the weekend again. So they do need their squads. They do need their strikers. They do need to get people to get game time. So hopefully we'll get our strikers back fit and back playing, and maybe have a little bit of a break and be in top form for March.
And that would be the aim. So David Moore says, why doesn't Darren Randolph move to get regular first team football? We spoke about this, I think, the last day, didn't we?
Yeah, I think Darren knew what he was getting when he moved, and I mean, a lot of keepers in their 30s do accept this. I mean, so I think it's probably Darren's choice. I mean, he's going to a Premier League club. He probably accepted he would spend a lot of time on the bench. I'm sure he's getting a very good contract from them. and he is training. He is getting the time. He has to be ready to play, as he had to be ready when Fabianski got injured in the warm-up last week, and he came on and did really well and kept a clean sheet. So I don't see Darren looking for a move. I think that's what he probably expected when he joined West Ham, and he's there if anything happens to Fabianski for injury, suspension, or anything like that, and also gets the chance to play in the cup ties. So I'd be less concerned about a goalkeeper in their 30s not getting to play every week than a developing goalkeeper, where I think for guys like Gavin Bazunu, it's crucial that he went out and got game time and playing regularly with Rochdale. Caoimhín Kelleher we talked about as well. Now that's kind of a funny one because he is playing tonight. He is training with Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, managed by Jurgen Klopp, one of the best managers in the world. So, I mean, in some ways you can argue how better can you a player like Caoimhín develop than watching one of the best keepers being coached by one of the best managers. But the only thing he doesn't have is a game on the Saturday. But I mean, he has a game tonight, and hopefully he will get game time in the FA Cup. And so it's probably the right thing for Caoimhín to stay where he is at the moment, because he'd obviously, wherever he goes, he'd be going to an inferior setup, even if he was playing every week.
Yeah. Sean says at least he played against Everton, and he did, and he came in the clean sheet. Didn't have a whole lot to do because West Ham were very well set up. But what is the story with Fabianski? You see, he obviously, before Darren went there, he was injured all the time, and they didn't have a keeper, and that's why they were down in the relegation area, because they didn't have a keeper who could come in that was of Fabianski's standard or close perimeter. That's why I think they brought in Darren. I think Middlesbrough was struggling for money at the time, and Middlesbrough owed West Ham some money for Darren, I think. And as you said there about keepers kind of winding down after 30, and they accept it. I mean, you think of keepers like Rob Green, Joe Hart, they've all been kind of keepers who've done it. They've gone to bigger clubs and been happy to kind of play number two and come in and play when they needed to in cup ties, or if they're second in command, they're happy to do so. Now I think Darren was going there backing himself, thinking, okay, if I perform, I could get myself maybe as the number one, because his performances for Ireland would warrant that, So I still feel like he thinks he can push Fabianski, and yeah, maybe he can. But he didn't do himself any harm last week with the clean sheet anyway.
Okay, chance here for Villa. Oh, it's 1-1. Louis Barry, a little bit ahead of you. Louis Barry just went through on goal and
great finish.
Yeah, finished it past Kelleher. Not much Caoimhín Kelleher could have done about that. He was through 1-1.
You love them celebrations, don't you? I wonder, is there any relation to Gareth Barry?
I don't know actually.
James Milner is not happy.
Yeah.
Boring James Milner.
Let's see what it was.
Should move. Yeah, you watch it there. I'm just going to look through the comments here. Sean says,
yeah, just a nice through ball. Centre half was caught, and he took it on well, and lovely right foot finish into the bottom right hand corner. I don't know. Maybe Caoimhín Kelleher could have come out, but it was just the pass. The pass took out Williams and put Barry right through.
I wouldn't be putting any blame on Kelleher there. There's not much he could have
Well,
done.
he was exposed. He kind of came maybe halfway. Do you come the whole way, or do you? I don't know. It's definitely not Caoimhín's fault. I mean, the defence was cut wide open. It was a great pass. I mean, the pass took Williams out completely, and Barry did really well to run on and finish it. But that throws our predictions out the window anyway. It certainly won't be 4-0 or 5-0.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously happy for Villa, because I like Villa, and obviously being an Everton fan, I would like to see Liverpool. I wouldn't bemoan Liverpool losing, would I? So, I mean, it makes for the cup tie, I suppose.
It does, and it's great. I mean, they're there with a team of kids, and I mean, it's I think they were like lambs to the slaughter, and now they're gone out. I mean, it's nearly 42 minutes gone, and it's 1-1. So, And the game does have to finish tonight. It gets decided whether it's extra time, penalties if needs be.
Yeah, I think Liverpool will move the gears now.
I think they probably will as well. But even if Villa could get to half time, it would be quite a coup for them.
Definitely. There's a couple of other comments. There's loads of comments. So just keep the comments coming in because we're enjoying this. We love when the comments are flowing, and it gives us lots to talk about then, because it's going to be half time in a couple of minutes, and yeah, we want to be talking about as much as possible. So Sean said, I think Preston are playing Wickham tomorrow, so that's the game where Malumbi will probably make his debut. Christopher Sully says, does Jeff Hendrick play in March? Not right now, anyway. For me, what about you?
Yeah, he may well play in March. I think it depends on how much game time he's getting in the Newcastle side, and who else is getting game time. But he'll definitely be in the squad, and he typically has been in our first choice midfield in recent years. But where would you get the balance? I mean, is it Conor Hourihane or James McCarthy sitting? Jason Malumbi in number 8 role, attacking midfielder, or do you play Jeff Hendrick there with Jason Malumbi? Do you play someone like Jason Knight or Alan Brown as a more attacking player? Maybe not in Belgrade. I don't know. I think Jeff is definitely will be there or thereabouts. But maybe if you're picking the team now, maybe he wouldn't get the 3, assuming that Stephen does play a 3 in midfield.
But he always seems to kind of start for Stephen as the number 10 behind the striker, I felt. Well, for Stephen anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, you have Alan Brown in that role now as well, and you have Jason Knight potentially as well. So, I don't know whether you're seeing him as a number 10 or possibly as maybe more of a defensively minded, maybe 2 number 8s ahead of a number 6. I don't know if we're going to be playing that much of an attacking midfield role. I mean, Jack Byrne is in the mix if you're looking for an attacking creative midfielder as well. But maybe that's for Luxembourg at home as opposed to Serbia away, when we're obviously going to be doing a lot more defending.
And Troy can play there too, if needs be.
Yeah, but I think Troy is going to, if Troy plays, it'll be up front.
Yeah, or a little bit out wide on the left or the right. Yeah. The good thing about Troy is he can play in so many different positions. I'd probably say probably play in centre midfield as well. He's just that good in terms of his football brain. But not for Ireland right now. But I foresee him being able to play in a number of positions, similar to Robbie Keane. He's just a smart brain about him. A couple of people just asking about Louis Barry here and asking if he can declare for us. I don't think he can. I was just looking up there on transfer market.
I don't know now. Not that I can remember. I can't remember reading anything.
I'll look it up here real quick. Louis Barry. It doesn't look like it. It just says he's Irish English, yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It has an Irish flag and a English flag beside it. So yeah, he was at Barcelona. Someone asked there, I think in the comments. He's at Barcelona and signed for Villa for 943,000. So he went from West Brom to Barca, and from Barca back to Aston Villa. So there you go.
Well, we need someone who can take a goal like he took that goal. So yeah, maybe Stephen is watching and can give him a call.
Now here's one. We might come back to the Louis Barry thing in a sec, but Daniel Deneen says, what club should Jason Knight sign for with Crystal Palace, Leeds, West Ham, and I think he means Burnley there after him. I think he should finish the season with Derby, then go to Burnley, where he knows he will start. If you were to pick any of those clubs, Gary, who would you pick for him? I would pick Leeds probably out of that list, but I haven't heard that they've shown any concrete interest. It's just gone half time there, by the way, at 1-1.
Yeah, Leeds is the one that stands out for me as well. Just the way they play such attacking football. They're so good to watch. Bielsa would be an amazing coach for Jason. And I think Jason's energy and his eye for a goal would certainly suit Leeds' style of play. He would have to work really hard, and I know the legs are run off. Maybe that wouldn't be the best for March, that he might need a break if he did go to Leeds. Any of those clubs, really, I wouldn't be too keen on Burnley because just the style of football they play. I think Sean Dyche is doing a great job there, but I think they play a lot of long ball football. It is very effective for them, and it's keeping them in the Premier League. But he would have a lot of balls going over his head, I reckon. But I think the key thing, if he does move to the Premier League, is that he gets quite a bit of game time, that he's going there to play and not sit on the bench, because he is playing regularly for Derby. He's scoring goals. He must be in, his confidence must be really high because he's flying. And no harm staying with Wayne Rooney at Derby, who was an amazing player and seems to be making a bit of a name for himself in the early days as a player manager. So he could be learning from a very good player and a very good goal scorer.
Yeah, well, let's just see what happens there. There's been no confirmation of a bid or anything like that so far, so it's all just speculation at the moment. So we'll wait and see. But hopefully, if he can go to a Premier League club, happy days. If he doesn't, then I'm happy enough to leave him where he is at Derby till at least the end of the season. So there's a few other comments. Didn't Louis Barry play for Ireland? Can Barry declare for us? Louis Barry, that was that kid that went to Barcelona, I think. So there's a lot of comments on Louis Barry, who obviously just scored there for Aston Villa's under-18 team against Liverpool's first team. Well, half of first team. But yeah, great goal taken by him, and it's half-time here. I haven't been too impressed by Liverpool so far. Have you, Gary?
No, I mean, it is a very strong Liverpool team. I mean, they did make 6 changes from their last game, but that's their first team squad. And I think that's the team Liverpool were going to play, even if they were facing the Aston Villa first team. So I suppose you were saying earlier on, Paul, that Jurgen Klopp probably saw it as a chance to go out and smash a few goals in and get confidence back for the likes of Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, but maybe quite the opposite effect now. It's having a even more negative effect on Liverpool's confidence, in that they had a couple of good results like that, thrashing at Crystal Palace, but they have struggled over Christmas. They've dropped some points, lost to Southampton, drew with West Brom. So it's not the Liverpool, certainly not the Liverpool of last season. And I think this game may well still kickstart their campaign. They could well go out in the second half and score 2 or 3 goals and probably will win this game still. But first 45 minutes, it wouldn't be one to boost their confidence.
I think Liverpool more often than not win a lot of their games in the second half anyway. So I'd say they'll start getting a bit of a rhythm going after the hour mark in the game, and then push on and get the winner. But it's great to see Aston Villa putting up a fight, considering there were basically no hopers going into the game, you know.
I just see as well, it's 1-0 Wolves at half-time against Crystal Palace. And Borussia Mönchengladbach have come from 2 down to be level 2-2 with Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. So they're not having it all their own way. And the Bundesliga is quite tight this season as well. There's a few clubs up at the top there. It's not the cakewalk for Bayern that it often is. Bayer Leverkusen and even Borussia Dortmund are still in the mix.
Is that a cakewalk? Is that some sort of country slang?
Well, maybe, is that a country expression? Okay.
I've never heard it before.
All right, it's one I heard quite a bit. Maybe it's a Limerick one, but what I mean by cakewalk is just a very easy run, and in the way that Liverpool had a bit of a cakewalk to the title last season in England.
I get you. Just a couple of more comments. Get the comments, keep coming in. We've 13 people on with us live there. Don't forget to like the video as well, as it helps the channel out. Sean says, what's the story with the right back position? Do we start Coleman or Doherty? The two of them aren't really playing at the moment, so that is a difficult one. I think if Matt Doherty's in form and we're attacking teams, I think Doherty starts, and I think if Coleman's playing regularly at Everton, and if he has been playing like he started the season, I think we should start him anyway. But if we are mainly going into a game where we probably need to defend like Serbia, I'd be probably looking at my captain Seamus Coleman to start that game. What about you, Gary?
Yeah, a lot will depend on the form, as you say. I mean, Matt Doherty, unfortunately, he got his place back from Serge Aurier, who had been playing really well, and Matt came in, played a couple of games, did really well, and then unfortunately, when Spurs are 3-0 up in injury time, he picks up a second yellow card and gets suspended and gives Serge Aurier the chance to get his place back. So. But as I said earlier, there's so many games coming up. I think Matt will still get quite a bit of game time. First choice. Yeah, and I know Seamus probably is a first choice and automatic starter for Everton when he's available and when he's fully fit. So, yeah, I'd probably take your point, Paul, that if we're under the cosh away in Serbia, it's probably Seamus Coleman at right back. And at home against Luxembourg, we need to push on, need to pressure teams, probably Matt Doherty. But either of them are really good options for us. So I wouldn't be too phased once we had one of them starting in Belgrade.
Yeah, well, I think that is a good point, because we without the two of them for one game after England. I think it might have been we were without them, were we not?
Yeah, and Cyrus Christie played. Yeah.
It was the Wales game.
The Wales game.
He went centre half, didn't he? And then we had to play Cyrus at right back, which was fine. Cyrus didn't play bad. And we have O'Shea who can play there as well. I know someone mentioned Darragh O'Shea in the comments there. We'll get to that in a sec. But I think we're blessed that we have two really good right backs, and the hardest thing is that they're probably our two best players, like when they're on form and doing well. And it's so hard to fit the two of them into the team on the same side. Now, you could play one left back and one right back, but I think having Enda Stevens there is a nice balance when he is fit. So we could see how, if Enda's fit, he has to start at left back, and then it's just a kind of matter of who does play right back. But I think the good thing about what Stephen did by bringing in players like Ryan Manning and stuff like that is it gave them a kind of feel for it, so that if they do have to come in, they could probably be up to the task. And he had a move to Swansea since then, and he's been kind of in and out of the team, but it was a good move for him. As you say, they could be playing Premier League next season if things go well for them, so that could be good for us as well.
Yeah, I think they're still second in the Championship, doing really well. Yeah, I think Enda Stevens will start at left back. I think if Enda isn't available, then yeah, maybe Seamus Coleman right back, Matt Doherty left back. But I think if Enda Stevens is fit and available, he will be the left back, and it'll be Seamus or Matt at right back. I know we talked before a few months ago about the option of playing three at the back, playing Seamus as one of the three. Yeah, it's a possibility. Maybe, I know we're talking again, but I think Stephen probably will still go with a back four. I don't see him in Belgrade. Maybe because it is a game. Obviously, it would be fantastic if we could go there and get a point, just keep it tight. Maybe he'll decide to go with three at the back, but without having tried it in any of the friendlies or any of the Nations League games, it would be a big change to do that in Belgrade.
Well, I don't think it would be that much of a change, because I think a lot of players now are a bit more adaptable and have played different systems. So I think he could do it if he wanted to do it, but it might just not click straight away. So I think fans would need to be patient with it, but we will see. I mean, he said he wouldn't rule it out, and really good coaches work to their advantages, and you look at how it's worked for Sheffield United and how it's worked out for Wolves and stuff like that with the players playing like that. So they'll know. I appreciate that they'll have a lot better players at, say, Wolves or whatever, but not Sheffield United. I mean, Callum Robinson plays in the 2, Aaron Connolly plays in the 2. So the midfielders have played in all sorts of different type of formations as well. The younger ones definitely have anyway. So I think if we were to do it, I don't think it would be that hard to do for our players.
I don't know if it'd be that. Yeah, I agree. It wouldn't be that hard to do, but to do it for the game in Belgrade might be too big a risk. I mean,
sorry, I was thinking of games after that. Sorry.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, because we have certainly once after we play Luxembourg, we've the friendly against Qatar, and then we've probably 2 or 3 games in June. So that would be the ideal chance to try out 3 at the back, try 2 up front, whatever Stephen wants to try. And I would hope, because those results don't matter, they really don't. Those friendlies are an ideal opportunity for Stephen to try things out. And so I wouldn't be shocked to see 3 at the back when we play Portugal in September away from home, which will be the first game after. So if it works, but I think Belgrade will probably come a bit too soon. I think Stephen might have tried it against Wales or Bulgaria if he was going to try it for Belgrade.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more kind of after, but I do stick to the basics for the Serbia game, I think, and obviously we need to try and get something out of that game. So sticking with the basics would be ideal for that game, and then after that, as you say, then look at maybe altering formations or seeing what could work and what couldn't. All right, then speaking of different things there, so David Salter says, lads, will we see much of a change to the high line that Kenny favoured for a more pragmatic approach in March? Also, will we go with a sitting/defensive central midfield? I think I just said there, I think it would be basics for this one. I think it will be similar to the Slovakia game. I think that would be if he has, well, maybe he'll have more of a first strength squad available to him, but I think that would be kind of the way he'll be looking to play was against Slovakia. I thought we were good defensively against Slovakia. I didn't think we were that high. I thought we stuck to our task quite well. James McCarthy played that game, if I'm right.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the midfield. I think he did. Yeah, I think he will play with a defensive. I think if James McCarthy is available and sharp, that he will play. I mean, Conor Hourihane has moved in and played that number 6 role. He can play as an 8 as well, but he has played as a 6 occasionally as well. I think we'll definitely need, and Josh Cullen is the other option in that role. But I think in Belgrade, certainly we will need, assuming we go with a back 4, I think we will need a holding or defensive midfielder sitting in front of them. And probably an experienced head. So if it's not James McCarthy, then that may be Conor Hourihane's best chance of starting as in front of the back 4 in Belgrade, as opposed to further forward.
Yeah, I think with Howard, I actually thought he's done well in that kind of sitting midfield role. I know people were like, "Oh, he doesn't offer," so I actually thought he done well in the games in there. Like, he was just simple. Probably could move the ball quicker, but I don't think our players get into position quick enough for him to be able to pick them out or whatever. But I thought he'd done okay. I thought he was quite solid. And if you look at the games that he's played there, we haven't conceded too many. I mean, we haven't conceded that many chances either. It's just the teams have been clinical against us, and we just haven't been at all. That's just the way football is, though. Sometimes your luck is in, sometimes your luck is out. But I would actually like to see Josh Cullen start giving a regular run to the team now. Vincent Kompany seems to really like him at Anderlecht. I was reading about him today, and he's saying that he's an integral part of kind of their resurgence. So it's great that he's getting involved there. It's great that Kompany likes him, because we know what a great player and leader he is, and if he likes him, that's only going to be good news for Ireland, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting with one of Europe's big clubs. I mean, Anderlecht are probably, well, certainly one of the biggest 3 clubs in Belgium, if not the biggest club, along with Bruges and Standard Liège.
Yeah,
they are
like Ajax, aren't they? But the Belgians.
Yeah, they are. I mean, obviously, Belgian football is top quality, so it's great that Josh. Okay, Anderlecht are not up at the top of the table like you'd expect them to be, so they're struggling. I think, well, they're down in mid-table, which is struggling for them. But it is great to see Josh playing regularly for a club like that, and you would expect him to get back to the top very soon. So he has to come into contention if he's playing regularly with a big club in a big league. And
he's the only one, though, that's playing regularly, Gary. Don't mean to cut you off there, sorry. But I think he's the only one regularly playing out of the midfielders right now, other than, I know James McCarthy's playing tonight, but regularly, Cullen's the only one.
Yeah, well, I suppose you'd say Jason Knight, but I mean, yeah, he's the only one in the
sitter, though.
Yeah, he's the only one in a top league. Yeah, but yeah, he's the only sitter. Sorry, he is the only sitter. Yeah, so I mean, it's either Josh Cullen, James McCarthy, or Conor Hourihane. Yeah, so yeah, I can't see any other options at this point. Glenn Whelan's not coming back, I think, at this stage. So it's going to be one of those three sitting in Belgrade. And, well, you could be right, Paul. It could.
Just lost you there, Gary.
Sorry, I was just going to say you could be right, and it could well be Josh Cullen in Belgrade.
Hopefully so. Or look, as long as we got a full strength team, I'm happy. Jordan Henderson's going off and Thiago's coming on. It's 1-1 here, and it's just about to kick off for the second half. So there's a couple more comments. Jack Gannon asks, do you think Doherty should go back to Wolves? I don't think he will go back to Wolves, but in hindsight, maybe it wasn't the best move, but you could not begrudge the move, and we all wanted to see one of our best players going to a top club and succeeding there. And look, he still might. I think it's too soon. He's only been there since the summer. It's a mad year. Let's just see how he gets on. I think Matt Doherty was better when there was fans, if I'm being honest. I think he just played far better when there was fans. So who knows, when fans come back, well, hopefully soon, it could kick him on a level. But he definitely has stalled a little bit in recent times, I would say. What about you?
It is, yeah, it is. It is a difficult one for him because, I mean, he was playing in as a wing back with Wolves. So they were playing three at the back and he was playing as a wing back. So he didn't have as much defensive responsibility. He's now gone to back four. Now, I'm sure Jose knew what he was buying. But also, I mean, with Spurs, the left back, Reguilon, the Spanish left back, anyway, Reguilon, the Spanish left back, he does bomb forward a lot as well. So I don't think if you've got a back four that you can have both full backs bombing forward. But having said all that, I mean, Matt Doherty got his place back over the Christmas period, was playing really well, and then unfortunately picked up that stupid second yellow card in injury time when they're 3-0 up and possibly lost it again to Serge Aurier. So I think it's still early days. I mean, he has moved to a top six club in England. He's the only player we have as anyway regular, well, apart from Caoimhín Kelleher, I suppose. But, I mean, Caoimhín is clearly second choice to Alisson. So I think Matt's the only one we could say is a first choice or very close to being a first choice for one of what we call the top six English sides. And
Seamus Coleman at Everton, though.
I wasn't counting Everton. Sorry, Paul, as being one of the top six. Maybe not. Maybe in the table. Maybe in the league table. But if you're talking about the traditional top six in recent years, it's Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and obviously Tottenham. So now maybe Everton will break through this season. They have done really well under Ancelotti, but they haven't been one of the top clubs in England for a few years now.
Yeah, they're probably on their way back though by the looks of things with Carlo there. And Seamus does they are on the lookout for a new right back long term to replace Seamus Coleman. So I think after this season you probably won't see the best of Seamus Coleman any longer. He'll still be a good player, but I don't think I think we've seen the best days of Seamus performing at the highest level. Although, I thought last season he was going to be done with Everton, and then when James came in, he's gone up a level. James coming in and doing that inside run that he does allows Coleman to make that overlapping run, and it creates space for James. So it's actually worked out really well for the two of them. And defensively, Seamus is very good. So there was a lot of games last year with Everton, and Seamus Coleman basically had to, in games where Everton had to sit back and defend, he was brilliant. You look at the games after the lockdown when he came back in, he was brilliant up against the likes of Mane and Rashford and all these players. And defensively, he was Everton were keeping clean sheets and he was playing well. So I think defensively he's really, really improved. And if it was to come down to it and we needed a player who just was going to defend, Seamus can do that for Ireland, or maybe in a couple of seasons I'd probably say he'll leave Everton, but I think he'll still be like an ambassador for Everton. I think he'll come back in some sort of capacity as a coach, maybe, because I know he does want to get into coaching, and he spoke about managing maybe a League of Ireland club one day, but he also did speak about going back to Killybegs to play GAA, and he's 31 now, so it will be interesting to see what kind of happens with Seamus. He's a great guy and he's a great captain, and everybody really likes him. You will never hear anyone say a bad word about Seamus Coleman. other than maybe Liverpool fans, but even that at a stretch, you'd find any Irish ones wouldn't say a bad word about him at all. So it will be interesting to see how the next kind of couple of seasons go for Seamus with Ancelotti there. And Ancelotti's a massive fan of his as well. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, there's no reason why he can't go on at least till 34, 35. And I mean, I'd hope he'd certainly be around for Euro 2024, which hopefully will qualify in Germany. So, yeah, I suppose time will tell. Maybe not as the starter at Everton, as you say. You're obviously far more in touch with Everton than I would be. But I think Seamus should be good enough. Yeah.
I could be wrong because he proved me wrong this season for the better, because we all wanted to see him do well, and everyone was saying how much better Doherty was than him, and I think he came back in with maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that says, right, well, I'll show you who's better. And he came in, and I'd probably say he's had a better season individually than Matt Doherty so far. But Matt's settling in at a new club as well. We have to remember that too. But I still really like Matt Doherty, and look, as long as Irish players are doing well, I'm happy. Despite the Everton bias, I still I have called for Doherty to start ahead of Coleman at times when Coleman probably wasn't performing well. But here's a good one from Christopher Scully. He said, does Darragh O'Shea start in March because he's playing regularly for West Brom? He's playing regular football. Yes, for me he does. But the thing is, do you drop Shane Duffy? And do you play Darragh? That's a headache Stephen has now. There's a lot of football to be played between now and March, so.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I know we've talked about it already. I mean, it seems even ridiculous a couple of months ago to even have that conversation. I mean, if everyone was fit and available, the two centre backs would be John Egan and Shane Duffy. I think, as things stand, I think John Egan is nailed on to start in Belgrade. He's playing regularly. He's still playing well for Sheffield United, and their problems are up front rather than at the back anyway. Shane Duffy's problems in Glasgow are, look, they're well publicised. The loan hasn't gone well for him. I know he's won the Scottish Cup, but he has, lost his place effectively at Celtic, and it was a really bad sign that when I can't remember the Celtic centre half that got injured. No, the guy that got injured. Julian got injured. Then that Neil Lennon had Shane Duffy on the bench, and he brought on Nir Bitton, who's a midfielder, to play at centre back, and then started Nir Bitton for the Old Firm game. And he only brought Shane Duffy on when he had to, when Bitton was sent off. So he had no other option. So. And I actually didn't follow up what happened, but Shane came back early from the training camp in Dubai for personal reasons, family reasons. Okay, because there were rumours. I think they've been on. I don't think they're correct, but there were rumours that he was possibly going to Nottingham Forest as well. And with Chris Hughton, and he would know him from the Brighton days, but I don't think anything's come of that. But yeah, that's a roundabout way, because Darragh O'Shea came on for Ireland and did incredibly well. He played really, really well in Finland, and he's really impressed. He played right back quite a bit for West Brom, did really well. Now he's playing as part of a back three. He's playing really well and really impressing for West Brom. So if you're going on club form, as crazy as it may seem, you would talk about playing Darragh O'Shea ahead of Shane Duffy. Having said that, if you go back to my earlier point about away from home in Belgrade in a hostile place, it would be a really big call to put Darragh O'Shea in there. But it would be a really big call to put Shane Duffy in there if he's not playing regularly and playing well for his club. So, it's a tough one, but Darragh O'Shea. Oh, I missed it.
I think it's been ruled out.
Okay,
sorry,
I wasn't watching it at all.
Too into.
But just watching.
You're too into this, is what I meant.
Yeah. Okay, it probably was just offside, was it?
I think he. But no, he's not, because the centre back there was playing him on. I think the fella who does the
guy in the middle, the guy in.
Salah.
Yeah. He might have kicked it out of the keeper. Okay.
Oh, and the keeper kind of had it in his hands too.
Yeah. But yeah, Darragh O'Shea, it is a tough one, and it'll be an interesting one. That's assuming that everyone is available in March, because obviously it's a long time away. But uh, Darragh O'Shea looks like he is going to play regularly for West Brom, and if we have a centre half starting regularly in the Premier League, and we have one on the bench in the Scottish Premier League, or possibly, I don't know whether Shane can go on loan again, or what the situation is. But if he's not playing regularly, or even if he is playing regularly, if he hasn't got his form back, it may well be Darragh O'Shea partnering John Egan. I think John Egan, as I said, has to start in Belgrade.
If it, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I wouldn't. There's a couple of other names I'll throw into the mix there, because Kieran Clark is playing regularly and playing well in the Premier League, and Kevin Long did really well for us. Didn't put up any trees, but he is a very solid, good player who took his chance. And okay, he's lost his place. Yeah, well, Kevin Long's lost his place again in Burnley, but he had done well for them when they needed him. And then you've got Nathan Collins at Stoke, who is doing incredibly well. And even at 19, probably Belgrade is a bit early for him to start, but I wouldn't rule out seeing him in the friendlies against Qatar, or maybe in June as well. So we actually have a lot of options at the back at the moment, and which is good to see.
And don't forget as well, I know Jimmy Dunn hasn't been playing with Burnley, but he is an option
Yeah.
too, because when he came in and played for Burnley, he was good too. So there's a lot of options, as you say there. Conor Masson, hopefully he'll get his place back at QPR and start playing against him, because I think he's a really good defender as well. But we're blessed in that department. I do think with Duffy and O'Shea, I think the difference is when Duffy plays for Ireland, he still seems to do well. Like, he was still doing well, even though he's being criticised when he came in. He was still doing well in November, I felt anyway. I didn't think he was doing anything worse than any of the rest of the team. And, you know, he's usually the one that kind of is just the best at defending. Now, I know he doesn't do that much defending anymore because of the change of style of play, and he's kind of more often than not setting the tone for attacking. And I think that's where Darragh O'Shea could be better, because he's better with the ball. But the thing is, as you said, you're in a hostile place. That do you start someone like Shane Duffy, who's had the experience of going away to places like that, and to places like Georgia, and scoring goals and stuff like that. That's something you can't buy, like having that experience at those games, you know, at international level as well. It's the top level. I'm not saying Darragh O'Shea couldn't do it. I believe he could, but again, it's form, it's timing. There's so much that comes into it between now and March. There's so many things that can change. You know, O'Shea could pick up an injury on the Sunday as they travel over. You just don't know. But if it was a case of it the way it is now, I would probably have O'Shea probably starting ahead of Duffy, just because I think Shane Duffy's just struggling at the moment with his form, and I think that's why Neil Lennon's not been playing him. I think he's just been sheltering him more than anything, because his confidence just looks on the floor. If you talk to any Celtic fan or anything like that, they seem to say the same as well.
Yeah, the Celtic fans seem really unhappy with him. I mean, and we did talk about this before as well, Paul. It is a different style at Celtic. Playing, no, not so much in the Rangers game, but in the other games that they would be playing very much a high line and trying attacking teams, and Shane can get caught out then and have to try and make up ground if you've got teams playing on the break against him. Whereas he'd be traditionally, when he was playing with Blackburn or playing with Brighton, playing in a team that's mainly on the defensive, so they can defend their own 18-yard box. So he wouldn't leave a lot of space in behind, and he's very good at getting his head on the ball, clearing the ball, blocking the ball, at defending. A traditional, certainly when I was thing you'd expect your centre half to do. You would never see in those days. Well, you would see the odd player. That you would see a type of Franz Beckenbauer, who's the kind of John Stones type player now, that would bring the ball out from the back. But your typical centre half, particularly in Irish or British football, is somebody who'd be getting the ball, just defending. And I think there's a lot more being asked for defenders now, and as you say, the likes of Darragh O'Shea and John Egan are much more comfortable on the ball. They'd be a better choice to bring the ball out from the back. But I go back to the point, away from home, first qualifier, hostile place away to Serbia. We are going to be under the cosh for quite a bit of the 90 minutes. And you have someone like Shane Duffy who's well able to defend, who's been there and done that, and could even nick a goal for us as well at the other end of the pitch.
Yeah, I think that's where Stephen Kenny's management's going to have to come into play. And what does he go for? Does he go for a passer out from the back with Egan and with O'Shea, and then you have the fullbacks then, or whoever he goes with? If he goes with a 4, then if he goes with a 3, which I don't think he will for that one, but he's got those options as well. And then does he go with just staying defensively? Because I think Egan can do both. I also think O'Shea can do both, to be fair as well. But if you're just looking for someone to just sit on the edge of the 18-yard box and head balls away and put his body in front of everything, Duffy's perfect for that. And I think whether he's in form or not in form, that's his game and that's his natural game, and that's where you get the best out of him. I think Ireland do that so much. I think that's why he's been Ireland's best player probably for the last 2 years. Great goal there by
Georgie Wijnaldum, yeah, great finish from outside the box into the bottom right-hand corner. Very little celebrations there for whatever reason.
He looks angry, yeah. He always looks angry, though.
And interesting, I know not from an Irish perspective, but I see he's coming up to being out of contract at Liverpool. And it's probably an interesting one because I think he was actually inside the box. My mistake, just inside the box. But he's out of contract and he hasn't signed a new deal yet. And I was being linked with Barcelona under Ronald Koeman. And it could be a tough one for Liverpool because he's such a good player. But he sees himself, and probably fair comment, in fairness to him, he sees himself as being one of the top players and that he should be one of the top earners at Anfield. And so far, the club haven't agreed and haven't offered him a contract to reflect that. And he's someone who could end up leaving Liverpool on a free transfer, which I'm sure he'd be a massive loss to them because he is a quality player.
I'm sure he could probably speak to clubs now then. Because it's January, I'm sure you could be looking at getting a Bosman transfer in the summer. Then that's the way it works, isn't it? They can start sign a pre-contract and then sign for free in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's the summer. His contract is coming up soon anyway. If it's not the summer, it's in the next 12 months or so. Yeah, so he is he is going to be available very soon unless he signs a new deal for Liverpool, and he would be, I think, anyway, a massive loss for them. It is complicated by the fact that he is a good friend of Ronald Koeman and someone who he admired. So going to Barcelona could make a lot of sense. But Barcelona have a lot of financial issues at the moment and they possibly couldn't afford him either. So he may well end up going somewhere else, going possibly to Italy or something like that. But he would be a massive loss. To my eyes anyway, to Liverpool. I don't know what Liverpool fans think about that. Oh, there's another goal there. Is that an own goal or is it Sadio Mane? It was a head.
It looks like it's going to happen now. Yeah.
Probably still a little bit ahead of you.
It did look like an own goal, yeah. It looked like it came off the defender. I'll wait for the replay to come up, but it is 3-1 now to Liverpool, and it looks like Mane is celebrating as if he's.
No, I think Mane actually did get a head on it just behind the defender. We'll just see it again. Yeah, it was actually Mane. Yeah, he was in behind the defender and he got the. Yeah, it was a lovely header actually. I did him a disservice. Yeah, it was a great header. He got quite a head on it and put it right over into the far corner. So he was dead right to be claiming and celebrating that one. That was a good goal.
I think a normal keeper would have saved that.
I don't know. I think it was a good effort. It was quite a bit away from the keeper. So it was. I don't know. Maybe we need to watch it again, but I think he got it right over into the other corner.
Right, let's get back to the comments. Someone asked, is it 1-1? I think that was a while back now. That was 45. Someone says, Swerved FNCS says, Aston Villa have quality players, and I think if they can keep pushing, they can win, in my opinion. Well, maybe in a normal game, they possibly could have, but not this one. And then David Moore asks, who are your top teams to win the Euros? I don't even know at the moment, who I'd be choosing, probably France.
The two that stand out for me are France, obviously, as world champions, and they've got so many quality players. And the other one is Spain. Didn't have a great World Cup, but and just as I speak, Mo Salah has made it 4-1.
You're a couple of seconds ahead of me, so
I must be. That's so.
yeah, he scored
Yeah,
there now, 4-1.
yeah.
Go on ahead. Go
Keep.
ahead.
So the other team I like is Spain, who obviously had that really impressive 6-0 win over Germany. So if it works out and they both win their group, they could potentially meet in the final. Now, you have the standard ones. Italy are starting to come back. If the Euros go ahead as scheduled, I mean, England on home soil, could they do it? Whatever number of years since 1966, 54 years, 55 years. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think England are just quite there. I think Germany are going into a rebuilding phase. So the obvious ones are France, Spain, and Italy, maybe as a bit of an outsider. The Dutch, maybe if they got a bit of a run, had players back fit, but I think they're just a little bit short as well.
Yeah, I think France or Spain are always going to be favourites, but Christopher Sully says Portugal as well could be one, and we'll, probably will we play them before then?
No, we won't have played them.
We get a good look at them though.
Yeah. They will have played Serbia, obviously. Yeah, I mean, look, they have Ronaldo, obviously, who's arguably the best player in the world, or certainly in the top two. And they've got so many other quality players. Bruno Fernandes is doing so well for Man United. I mean, they could. I wouldn't rule it out. I just think that France and Spain have just got that little bit more. But I mean, if you talk about it, France, Portugal, and Germany are all in the same group. So it could well depend on who wins that group as well. So yeah, there's a lot can happen in what way it falls out, who's available, what happens with COVID and everything like that. But for me, if I was calling it now, I'd say a France v Spain final.
All right, Energized Show has just commented there saying Portugal, France, and Holland would be his top teams to win the Euros.
So, yeah, I mean, any of those are a good shout.
But hope you're well, Ross and Barry. But I think let's just kind of talk about Portugal for a minute, because obviously we're going to be playing against them. Let's just talk about them for a minute. Sorry, my phone went off there. So you look at their players, their keeper, Patricio, playing with Wolves. Then they've got Neves playing with Wolves as well. And then they've got Bernardo Silva at Man City, who's kind of in and out, but he's a class player when he's firing. He's brilliant. Yeah. Then they have Bruno Fernandes. Then they have Ronaldo. They just have so many class players.
João Felix as well, who's a really quality player, Yeah, so
you say Ronaldo, but like Ronaldo by that stage, if Portugal do win the Euros, then you're kind of thinking to yourself, Ronaldo may retire.
No, Ronaldo's not retiring. Ronaldo is going to Qatar. He's definitely another World Cup in Ronaldo. He loves playing for Portugal. He is setting all sorts of records. He is still a top player, and there is no way that he will retire before we play Portugal. I think he's. I think Ronaldo has his eyes set on going to Qatar, and I think. I mean, I've said I maybe didn't rate Portugal right up there with France and Spain. They could well win the Euros, and they could well win the World Cup, which is only next year now. Remember as well, the World Cup is in 2022. So I think Ronaldo will be at the World Cup. Well, maybe he won't. Maybe we'll knock them out. But I think that would be very much wishful thinking on my part as well. Unfortunately, I think Portugal will win our group, probably with a bit to spare. I think realistically we're battling for second place with Serbia and that playoff spot. I think Portugal will win the group. They are contenders to win the Euros. Might fall a little bit short. No, I'm even making these predictions, and then I'm thinking, I'm looking at the group, and I think it's Group F, and you have France, Portugal, Germany. I think it's Hungary as the fourth team. Could be, yeah, it is Hungary. I'm pretty sure it's Hungary, but potentially one of them is not getting out of the group because you have the four best runners up get through. So even if one of them gets out, they get to play a group winner in the next round. So you could end up. I know the winners of the group. The runners up in the group come to Dublin and play the winners of England's group. So you could England, France, England, Germany, Croatia, Portugal, Croatia, France. So you could have repeated the World Cup final in the round of 16 in Dublin. And so you have some big heavyweight clashes early on in the Euros. So you could have, I could be talking about France and they could be knocked out in the group stages. Portugal could be knocked out in the group stages. But I think Ronaldo, going a roundabout way, but I think Ronaldo is staying at least until the World Cup in Qatar. And I wouldn't even rule him out having some bit of a role in Euro 2024, particularly if Portugal were going for 3 in a row.
Yeah, well, as I say, it's wishful thinking that he might retire, but it is what it is. Let's just see what happens. I mean, if he wins and he wins the Golden Boot, I mean, he might go out in a high. But they do have a very good squad coming up there, like that, where he might just have to be an impact sub for them. And, well, whether he'd accept that or not, only he would know that. But if you had those younger players kind of around doing a lot in the running for him, and him in the box as a major threat then for balls coming in and just having to head them or whatever. But he's still such a brilliant player at his age and looks after himself unbelievably well. I'm not looking forward to facing him.
The other thing I'll say, Paul, is, I mean, I said one of the top two players in the world because you can get into the Ronaldo-Messi debate. But there is one thing I will say, and you mentioned it, but I would give him absolutely 100%. His commitment to Portugal and what he's done is unquestionable. It's second to none. I mean, there have been doubts over Messi in Argentina, and I know there can be other arguments for that, but he hasn't necessarily been the same player for Argentina as he has been for Barcelona. Portugal see the very, very best of Ronaldo. And even when he had to go off in the final of the Euros, he was on the sideline cheering his team on, absolutely exhorting his teammates. He is a superstar, but he is very much a team player, particularly when it comes to Portugal. So I as I said, I see him staying and I see him being involved in whatever needs to be done. But the other thing I'll say is, hopefully Portugal come to Dublin in November. And hopefully, we'll all be vaccinated by then. And is it too much to ask that we could have full house and full crowds in the Aviva by November? And what a chance to see Ronaldo, one of the best players in the world, playing here in Dublin. And that would be some occasion. And it would be really, really, really special if we're still in contention to win the group. But even if not, you'd have a chance to go and see one of the greatest players in the world playing in the Aviva, and that would be really special.
And just on that, I just wrote there Ronaldo or Messi and why. This is a comment because the comments have slowed up there recently. That is a tough question. I've seen Messi live. I don't remember seeing Ronaldo live. I might have seen him in his early days of Portugal, maybe when he came over with Portugal over here in a friendly or something, maybe. I don't really remember. But I went in 2012. My mate was living in Malaga on Erasmus, and it was around the time when Malaga had a really good team. Pellegrini was manager, and they got to the semis of the, the Champions League. What's it called? So they got to the semis of that the year previous. So they had players like Isco and so on at the club. And I went to see them against Barcelona in La Rosaleda in Malaga. My friend got us tickets, and we went over, and it was just might have been actually the year they were in the Champions League and they'd just been knocked out because it was after January. It was January, yeah. I think they'd been knocked out by Dortmund the year previous, so the last minute goal. But I seen Messi live, and he was just unbelievable. He would just didn't do a whole lot. Like, he would just kind of stand in positions, and he wouldn't do a whole lot of running. But when he had the ball, he did all the running, and he was just amazing. Thiago actually played that game as well. He's playing for Liverpool there tonight. He came on for Henderson. He was playing that night, and he scored as well. I had a bet as well. I think the bet was 3-1 to Barcelona, and Messi just scored first, and he did score first, but they won the game. They won the game 3-0, and Malaga hit the post from a free kick. So had I won that, I would have won a lot of money over in Spain. It would have been an even better time. But it was a brilliant weekend away, and watching Messi live for me. That's the only reason I would have him as better, because I've seen him live. But as you said, if Ronaldo comes over, then we could see him live as well, which would be unbelievable, because I've always wanted to go. When he was at Madrid, I wanted to go over to the Bernabeu and see him, and I wanted to see Messi in the new camp, but I just ultimately didn't get a chance to do that. But going to see him at La Rosaleda was unbelievable, and just seeing that Barcelona team, because it was that Barcelona team that had won everything under Pep, and they were tipped to be like the best team ever. So I got to see them when they had those players playing for them, and they were just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really tough one. I have seen them both live, and they are both amazing, fantastic players. And they are, I think, definitely the top two in the world at the moment, and have been for some time. I know Lewandowski has won the golden ball, but for me, that's Ballon d'Or. For me, it's a tough one. I might give a different answer at a different time, but I just think Messi is probably slightly better. And I'm going on his Barcelona form, even though I haven't actually seen him play for Barcelona. I've seen him play for Argentina. He played here in Dublin actually in 2010. I don't know if you were at that game, Paul. The opening game of the Aviva. Yeah, and
it's 100 cap, isn't it?
Was it his 100 cap? Oh, okay. I can't remember that. Okay, but it was the opening of the Aviva, the first international there, and I saw him in the World Cup as well, actually in Russia, and actually in South Africa as well. But and I've seen Ronaldo quite a few times live, and Ronaldo's actually, if I remember rightly, his Real Madrid debut was actually in Tala Stadium against Shamrock Rovers. I think I've got that right. But they're both fantastic players. For me, just Messi is just that little bit better, but there isn't a lot in it. I know it's something that brings up strong feelings. And it's funny, it's actually one I maybe talk a small little bit about, because I really noticed it in Russia, that you have, not so much in Europe, but more in Asia, you have fans, which is more of an American thing as well, and people who consider themselves a Ronaldo fan and a Messi fan rather than a fan of a particular team. And I saw that at Portugal, Morocco, I think it was, in Moscow. And most of the stadium was there to see Ronaldo, and they were just cheering him on. And because Portugal don't have a big travelling support, they probably won't bring many fans to Dublin in November. They traditionally don't travel. They don't even travel to major tournaments. But you had tens of thousands of fans who were effectively Ronaldo fans. And they were coming from India, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Thailand, loads from China, Japan, and there to support Ronaldo. And then when Argentina played, now this was to a lesser extent, because Argentina obviously have huge fanatical travelling support from Argentina, but you also had fans coming mainly from Asia, in Russia, there to support Messi. And it was an interesting experiment. I mean, for me, you follow a team or a country rather than a player. But I know it's maybe different in different parts of the world. And I know in American sports, actually, it's where I first experienced this. I saw people who would have been fans of a particular player So I'm thinking of a baseball player I saw back in the 90s called Mark Maguire. I think he was done for drug taking after that, but he had been a star with Oakland A's, and I was over for work in California watching the San Francisco Giants, and Mark Maguire came back. I think it was with the St. Louis Cardinals, could be wrong anyway, but he came back, and there were loads of people who went along because they were Mark Maguire fans. And just to see him, which I found a bit strange at the time in the late 90s, but it's coming to football now with more Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think you're right there. There's actually a good kind of picture to paint there, because I didn't know that. I know they had mad, crazy fans that are Messi, Ronaldo, but I didn't know they would actually go and travel to World Cups just to see the player rather than the country. But I suppose that's cool, and they are super fans, you would say.
I would say the majority of the fans at Portugal, Morocco, I mean, the Luzhniki in Moscow held about 80,000. There must have been nearly 80,000 people there. And the majority, if not the vast, well, there was actually quite a lot of Moroccan fans. There were only a few hundred, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 Portuguese fans, if you know what I mean. People who travelled from Portugal to support Portugal. And there were tens of thousands of Ronaldo fans. Many of them in Portugal shirts, many of them in Real Madrid shirts, loads of Real Madrid Ronaldo shirts. I mean, they were Ronaldo fans. And, well, that's it. I mean, but they were there to support the player. And less so with Messi because, it was actually much harder to get tickets as well. I was at the Argentina-Iceland game, but it was in the smaller stadium in Moscow. And there were obviously, Argentina are actually, they bring fantastic support to tournaments. And it would be an amazing team for us to play against if we ever did get to a World Cup. To play Argentina would be some atmosphere. But so Argentina had a lot of Argentinian fans, but then you had a lot of Messi fans who managed to get tickets. And then you had Icelandic fans. Iceland had great support there as well. So that was a pretty special game. But again, it was strange having people there to support Messi as opposed there to support Argentina.
Yeah, I threw up there as well. The best game you've been to and why? Best live game.
Oh God.
I just thought you'd like that one because you've been to so many. How many World Cups have you been to? So anyone watching doesn't know.
Yeah, I've been to the last 8. I've been to all the World Cups since 1990. So
since I was born.
Okay. The best game, I presume it means the most special game to me was being in Stuttgart when we beat England, but it wasn't the best game of football. I'd be lying if I said that.
Best moment, best moment then.
Okay, the best moment was Ray Houghton in Stuttgart beating England. I think that's the best, certainly in the national team. And for me, Limerick winning the league in 1980 in Athlone was very special as well. The best game of football. Let me think, because that's put me a little bit on the spot now, and I'll probably miss
Okay, I'll give you mine. I'll give
you
two.
You give me yours, Paul. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I can't choose between them both, but there was the Holland game. I was a ball boy for the Holland game where McAteer scored. So our local club, Bradford Rovers, there was a raffle. I think the chairman of the club, his brother was the kit man, Joe Walsh, and he was like Mick's right hand man back then. He still walks around the area with an Ipswich coat on him because he's obviously friends with Mick when Mick was Ipswich manager. Although recently I seen him in a Cabo jacket, but there you go. Well, he basically had raffles for all the teams, so they would be ball boys for the Holland game when McAteer scored the only goal. And my brother won the raffle as well for his team, so the two of us had won. It was on my birthday as well. I got called out. I wasn't even at the training or the match, so they could have just given it to someone else because I hadn't turned up. But it was my birthday, so I didn't go to training. And I found out then the next time I was at training that I got basically told I was going to be a ball boy at the Ireland and Holland game. So I was delighted at that because it was, the team we had then when Mick was manager with Roy Keane and all these players. And then the 98 World Cup was when I started watching football, and Holland were brilliant in that World Cup. They got to the semis, got beat by Brazil. But that's when I started watching football, was that World Cup. And I always liked Holland, so the chance to be ball boy and see us against them was unbelievable. And we were down right beside the Dutch fans. They were down behind the goal, and the noise and the atmosphere was brilliant. It was, I think me and my brother, we ended up finding loads of stuff thrown on the ground after, because the Dutch weren't happy because we bet them. I mean, they threw everything at us and we bet them. And Roy Keane was unbelievable that day. Obviously set the tone with the tackle on Mark Overmars, and it was just an unbelievable day. We got the win. McAteer scored. I think my dad had McAteer first goal scorer on the day as well, so he was delighted as well. I remember him. He had a few drinks and stuff, and he came to where I was. He knew I was down by the corner flag, and he knew where I was, and he was still drunk or whatever, and he came in with the docket or whatever in his hand, and he was like, "Yeah, all right," and he was delighted. We were delighted. Ireland were winning at the time, although we had 10 men. Now, the only thing I was annoyed about that day was the fact that every player I gave the ball to played for Rangers. So I think it was the De Boer brothers and Arthur Newman. They all played for Rangers, and I was mad, like Celtic fan at the time, like huge Celtic fan. I hated Rangers, still do, but even more so as a kid. They just hit the bar there. Thiago did, but I hated them at the time. So giving them the ball was a horrible feeling. But other than that, it was an amazing day, and yeah, it was just the best feeling to beat them, because they had such a good team. You remember the players that they brought off the bench that day to finish the game. I think they finished with Hasselbank, Van Nistelrooy, Kluivert. Was Bergkamp playing as well?
Four strikers they had, yeah. Ronnie McCoy was there as well. Hasselbank. Roy McCoy, sorry, yeah.
He was great though, great player. He played for Deportivo and Bayern, didn't he?
Oh yeah, no, they had 4 quality strikers, but they took off the 2 wingers. The 2 wingers were tearing us apart, and they actually took them off, which I think was a big mistake.
Van Gaal.
Yeah.
Van Gaal, whatever you want to call him, who's the manager. Louis Van Gaal's very army.
Okay.
And then the other game is Shells beating Hajduk Split in Talca Park. That was unbelievable, because my dad used to bring all of our mates to games. So we all had season tickets for Shells when we were kids. My brother, my cousin, my cousin's mate, my mates, we all had season tickets. Because in minors you got free season tickets, and none of the lads supported League of Ireland clubs. Then they were obviously Shells fans, and because my granddad was a huge Shells fan. He grew up in Pearse Street and stuff like that, so he had always had that Shells fans instilled in us. We'd go see him every Tuesday, Thursday, but it was brilliant, because obviously Davy Rogers scored that volley, and I was in there with all my mates and my dad and my uncle and stuff like that, and we were just all there, and it was a packed talk. I think you might have been at that one. I think you missed the one.
Yeah, I missed it. Yeah, I missed the Deportivo game. I was at the Reykjavik, the Hajduk, and it was at the Lille game. Was it Lille that played in the UEFA League or Europa League, UEFA Cup, and Glenn Fitzpatrick got the 2 goals. But yeah, I missed actually Deportivo because I was away for work.
Yeah, I remember you saying that to me when we went for a walk in Marley Park, actually. But that day, and then Alan Moore getting the final goal just to top it off, and it was unbelievable scenes after the game. We're all raided the pitch, and I think I was on Sky Sports News standing behind Ollie Byrne at the time when he was talking to the camera. When I was on Sky Sports News going into school the next day, I think it was in 2nd or 3rd year at the time, and everyone was, "Oh, you were on Sky Sports News," and all. So those 2 for me would be the best ones. I hope in that time I've helped you think of 1 or 2 for you.
Yeah, I'd come up with 2, and I am going to go to the World Cups actually, because I think since I was a small boy watching the World Cup on TV, but 2 as a neutral that stand out for me in my memory. The first one was the day after we lost to Italy. I went down to Naples to watch England and Cameroon in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. And it was an absolutely incredible game. England took the lead. Cameroon came back and actually led 2-1, and it looked like they were going to go through to the World Cup semi-final. And England came back 2 penalties from Gary Lineker and won it in extra time. They were very, very lucky. The better team definitely lost that day, but it was an incredible game, and I just felt so sorry for Cameroon. It would have been amazing had they reached the semi-finals of the World Cup. And ironically, England, having been so lucky to get there, were actually unlucky to lose to the Germans in the semi-finals on penalties. And the second game,
Gaza?
yeah, Gaza got booked,
Gaza
so he
missed
would have been out at the final. Gaza cried, and yeah. So that was actually a great game as well. We stayed on. I spent. It's the only World Cup I've been for the whole thing, effectively, because it started in Cagliari at Ireland, England, and finished at the final in Rome. Spent a month in Italy in a tent, or a lot of it in the tent, and it was fantastic, an amazing experience. And the other one that I'll talk about, it was a great game, but also it was an absolutely incredible atmosphere. And it was just very lucky the way it worked out at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte. The last game I saw in that tournament was the round of 16, Brazil and Chile. And it was a 1-1 draw, and Brazil won on penalties. Now, I know they imploded in the same stadium about a week after that, but I was watching that from home. But it was a great game of football, but an absolutely unreal, incredible atmosphere, because I think the atmosphere South American fans bring to football is just at a different level to, and I will mention another game now that I'm coming to South American fans, but watching Brazil at home in a World Cup, and it did look like at the time, particularly when they won, that they were actually possibly going to win the home World Cup, which would have been an amazing experience. And I mean, I was looking around at the people. In some ways, I felt a bit like a fraud, having got the ticket a year earlier. And I gambled a bit. I knew it was going to be my last game in the tournament, but I gambled a bit that Brazil would actually win their group and you would end up with a good game in Belo Horizonte. And I bought the ticket. Obviously, I was going to the game no matter who was in it. But having two South American teams in the game really added to the atmosphere. The Chilean fans were amazing as well. And so it was a great game of football. Alexis Sanchez was brilliant that day as well. And great atmosphere. And finally, another one I'll mention, because I'd love to see this game in Argentina, but I went to Madrid for the Copa Libertadores final when it was moved in December, just over 2 years ago, and Boca River, and that was unreal, and it was an unbelievable atmosphere, and it was just really special. A friend of mine got 2 tickets, and he's English, but he had spent a few months in Argentina at one point, just going around watching football, and he had become a big River fan. So we had 2 tickets behind the goal in the River end, and it was just I didn't really mind. I probably would have been more sympathetic towards Boca, but I didn't really mind. But it was really special atmosphere. And special derby. River won it and won the Copa Libertadores. I'd certainly love to go, and I will someday go to Argentina and go and watch some club football there. I'd love to watch not just Boca River, but go and watch the Rosario derby. Go and watch just some of there's so many big clubs there, such passionate football fans, and South American fans in general. I mean, if I do just see the game is over there, but if I do go to future World Cups, I'm much more interested in watching South American teams and experiencing their fans rather than the European fans. Because we're just talking about Portugal only bringing 1,000 or 2,000 fans to these tournaments. I mean, Peru to Russia brought 30, 40, 50,000 fans. Brazil, Argentina, they bring just so many fans to these tournaments. Chile didn't qualify in 2018. They brought so many fans to Brazil. Argentina, I didn't get to see Argentina and Brazil, unfortunately. I bought my tickets a year in advance, and unfortunately none of them were Argentinian games. But they brought 100,000 fans to Brazil. They just took over some of the cities. There's a fantastic video on YouTube of the Argentinian fans in a shopping center in Brazil before one of their games. I'd highly recommend. Just Google Argentina fans Brazil shopping center, and it's 6 or 7 minutes of just insanity. But I've gone way off topic. But yeah, if I had to pick 2 matches, Brazil-Chile from 2014 World Cup, and the quarter-final in Naples of Italia 90, Cameroon-England.
Yeah, just another one I want to add as well was Celtic and Lazio when Celtic beat Lazio from a goal down. I beat them in Celtic Park. I was at that game. It was my first European game under the lights at Celtic Park, and it was unbelievable. The atmosphere unbelievable as well. Have you ever been to a Celtic game?
I have, yeah. I've seen them the couple of games against Ireland, the testimonials for Pat
But I
Bonner
mean
and
like
Scott
a
Brown.
proper
Yeah,
game.
I went to Celtic Rangers in the 80s, and
Oh wow.
I actually saw one very good game, actually, which could have been right up there, was the night before Limerick played AZ Alkmaar in Europe, our last European game in 1982. Ajax played Celtic in Amsterdam. We talked about it on one of the shows before because I got to see Johan Cruyff play live. But that was actually an amazing game in the old European Cup. It was 2-2 in Glasgow. And it was Cruyff was marked out of the game by a guy called Graham Sinclair, who was just became a journeyman. But at 19, it was some experience to mark Johan Cruyff out of the game. But it was 1-1 in Amsterdam, absolutely cracking game. And I think it was George McCluskey got a late winner. Celtic were going out in the away goals rule, and he got the winner to put them through. So it was actually an incredible game. Jan Molby, Jesper Olsen, I think, and all played that night as well for Ajax. It was a cracking match, and played in a full house in the Amsterdam Olympic Stadium. So yeah, that's one that could be well up there as well. I've seen Celtic a few times here in Ireland as well. Saw them play Shamrock Rovers in Europe, and plenty of friendlies and all that. But
The atmosphere from the Green Brigade is ridiculous, like so good. Just a couple of just a couple of comments just to finish up. So Black Church and Reggae says the best game he was at with Austria versus Ireland at the Aviva Stadium in 2013. He says 3-3 if I remember correctly. Alaba equalised at the end.
two
Was that game
2
3-3 or
at 2
2-2?
2
I thought.
2 2
Yeah.
2 2. Alaba equalised with the. Yeah, I
Okay,
was
fair
right. He
enough.
was right. He was right in front of me. I was in the West Lower stand. And I could see him cutting in. I said, "No, he put it into the North Terrace end. Well, not into small, but I call it the North Terrace end. It's the small end in the Aviva, the North Stand now. But yeah, that was we should have won that day. We had it won, and yeah, it was a great game. It was. We were goal down, if you remember, and we came back with Johnny Walters and leading 2-1, and should have won it.
I was at that game. It's just David Salter then. It's just for the last comment. He says, I saw Del Piero play for Sydney versus Melbourne in Melbourne when I lived in Australia. He scored a hat-trick and my mate was raging. Best player on the field in his 40s. Yeah, I actually seen a game when I lived in Australia as well. I saw Sydney. They played the Newcastle Jets, and Brett Emerton was playing for Sydney. And do you remember Michael Bridges, who played for
For
Leeds?
Sunderland. Yeah.
He was playing as well. It was a good game. It wasn't like an amazing atmosphere. It's just when he spoke about Sydney FC and the A League. I did actually see an A League game, which not everybody can say they have. So that was pretty cool. I actually got brought a guy. It's very common over there that you go and you play like a drop-in game of football where you just go to a park and there'd be a load of lads who are bricklayers or working construction, and they'd all go to the park in the evening and they'd all go there and they'd play a game of football against each other. And there was this lad from Leeds and from Yorkshire, and he just said, do you fancy going to a game? Because we played a couple of weeks in succession. I got talking to him and he said, yeah, would you like to call me? Gave me his number, and he brought me, and he brought me he had a box where he was out to watch the game, and he brought me, and it was just unbelievable. And yeah, it was just cool just to kind of see. The stadium was cool. I mean, the atmosphere wasn't great, but it was only 2012, so I think the A-League was only starting to kind of bring in decent players, and I think Del Piero came in a little bit after that. There was a marquee player there at the time. I just can't remember who it was, but they had a couple of players. Emerton, I think, was the marquee player for Sydney. He came from Blackburn. He's done well at Blackburn, and obviously he played with Australia as well in competitions like the World Cup and stuff like that. So
yeah, Del Piero was some player, all right. Yeah, for basically that Italian team that won the World Cup. That's.
I was saying Emerton, but Del Piero, yeah, he was streets above it. Look at him in 06, unbelievable. And even that goal against Rovers, remember the free kick?
Yeah, that's right. When Shamrock Rovers played Juventus. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was at the
Their
game in
jersey
Tala
is in.
actually. Yeah, yeah.
What?
I was at the game in Tala. Yeah, I know he it was away. It wasn't even in Turin. I think the where did the Rovers play away to? Juve moved the game somewhere else in Italy, if I remember rightly. I can't remember. I watched it. And it was. I'm pretty sure it was live on TV. I think I remember watching it live on TV. The
I would have
return
been,
leg.
yeah.
It was in some place like Modena or something like that. And I think the Rovers fans all got totally soaked. It poured rain that night. But yeah, Del Piero was special.
Just getting some news here. Hang on. I might have some breaking news if I'm thinking.
I'll just actually check the other results because I didn't keep up to date. And it finished 1-0 to Wolves. And Borussia Mönchengladbach beat Bayern 3-2. That was some comeback and some win. And yeah, that shakes things up in the Bundesliga. RB Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, Bayer Leverkusen. Maybe one of them could win the league. But not much from an Irish interest, but certainly I actually am a big fan of German football. And I love going to watch live games in Germany. Maybe on TV, I'd maybe prefer to watch English games, but the fan experience in Germany is really good.
Yeah,
and Villarreal are 4-0 up on Celta Vigo in La Liga as well.
No, false alarm. The lads were going off in the group there just saying about surprising news about Duff. I thought Damien Duff had left Ireland, but it wasn't. False alarm.
Okay, all right.
One thing we should definitely do is we should definitely go to South America. We should definitely go to a game over there. Maybe we'll do something with IFF TV on tour. You never know. But
it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's a quarter to 10, so we'll jump off. The full time in the match was 4-1 to Liverpool, and we went off topic, but as we always do on the watch alongs, it's just about having a bit of banter. And a huge thanks to anyone who got involved in the comments, anyone who subscribed, and anyone who's maybe watching now hasn't subscribed, please do so. Please give the video a like. Don't forget to check out Manscaped. Use the code IFFTV for 20% off. And if you want to follow myself or Gary, our social media handles are underneath our names. Thanks for watching. Gary, if you want to say goodbye, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay, goodbye, and thanks